What's good, combat sports fans? You already know it's your boy Bando back at it with a fresh episode because UFC 314 is this weekend. I gave you the Volk breakdown. I gave you the Lopez breakdown, but I did not give you the full-on UFC 314 breakdown. So let's waste no time. Let's get into it. Let's smoke. So welcome back to another episode. Thank you for joining me for this session and this breakdown. So we are getting into UFC 314. First, I just gotta say, this card stacked to the gills. Absolutely stacked to the gills. One of the best cards that I've seen in a while, and I am super excited for it. I know 90% of fight fans are excited for it, and if you're not, I'm not sure why. So let's get into this. So going through the early prelims, don't know a ton of these fights, but I do see three names that could end up being potential in the future to see often. You're looking at Tresean Gore, Sumadarji, and Cedric Dumas. All three of those guys, very good competitors. Same with Mitch Raposo going up against Sumadarji, but a lot of up-and-comers always on the early prelims, so it's good to pay attention if you're trying to learn about the next up-and-comer, the next big thing. These are three guys that are extremely talented and I think can make statements this Saturday night, so keep an eye out for them on the early prelims. Getting into the prelims. Opening the prelims, we got Darren the Damage Elkins going up against Julian Erosa. Good fight. Obviously, we know Julian Erosa's got some pretty good striking. Could be slow on the feet at times, could be a little stiff, but he does have good striking. He knows how to utilize his distance and stuff like that. But we already know what's up with Darren Elkins. Darren Elkins looks like he's going to lose every fight, and he comes back. He is the comeback kid. He is the name to damage for a reason, because he could take a lot of damage and continue to push forward. Who do I have in that one? It's hard for me to go against Darren Elkins, so I'm rocking with Darren the Damage Elkins. Next fight, you got the old versus the new. Jim Miller versus Chase Hooper. That's a very interesting fight. It really is, because Chase Hooper is extremely talented, right? He doesn't look like the type of dude who should even be in the UFC. This curly-haired dude with a baby face, right? Skinny as can be, not ripped, not shredded, nothing like that. But absolutely talented, has a great ground game. But I don't think his ground game is as good as Jim Miller's. And the way that Jim Miller, it's so weird that Jim Miller should realistically be on his way out when it comes to like the career, because he's fought so many fights. He's been in the UFC for so long. You would think he'd start fading out. He's not even close to fading out. Not like he's fighting to become a champion or anything like that, but he's still whooping up on young dudes. He really is. Like, he's going in there, and I'm not talking about beating him in a 3-round boring decision. No, I'm talking about getting a finish. He's getting finishes. So I got to rock with Jim Miller again on this one. I got to rock with the old guard on it. I like Chase Hooper. I think Chase Hooper is extremely skilled, but Jim Miller, man, he's been in there with so much different opposition. He's fought every single style of fight that you can possibly fight. And I think Chase Hooper's strong suit is also very dangerous against Jim Miller, right? You go to the ground, Jim Miller is a very good ground guy too. So it's a tough fight to call, but I'm rocking with Jim Miller in that one. Jan Zaunin versus Virna Jandiroba. Jan's last fight was a good decision win over Tabitha Ricci. So she looked pretty good in that. Striking looked good. Mixing the game up pretty well. Nothing spectacular. But Virna Jandiroba, some people were talking about her even being potentially one of the next people to talk about fighting for the title. Her last win was against... Right, she subbed Amanda Lemos. Think about that. She went out there and subbed Amanda Lemos. That is a very difficult task to do. And she subbed Amanda Lemos. So I could understand why people would want to see her in the next title shot. But this is definitely a good challenge for her because Jan has good stand-up and good ground game. She's good in both levels. And she's been at the championship level before as well. So if Virna Jandiroba can get past her, she pretty much secures herself as #1 contender. I would assume nothing else really pops off in that division. So I would assume that's the route they would have to go. Whichever woman wins this fight, you could be looking #1 contender. But I don't know if people are going to be asking for Yan Xiaonan versus Zhang Weili again. So I think Virna Jandiroba takes this fight, in my opinion. Then you got Dan Ige and Sean Woodson. That's going to be fun. That's a test for Sean Woodson. A real test for Sean Woodson. And a very interesting matchup because of the size of Sean Woodson. Right? The size of Sean Woodson is not a normal featherweight. And Dan Ige is kind of on the shorter side, kind of the stockier side, right? Doesn't have a crazy long reach or anything like that. But let me tell you something about Dan Ige. Dan Ige is one of the baddest dudes in the UFC. Okay, and I say this, and you know why I say this, because he took a fight on 4 hours notice. You name another person to do that. Dan fucking Ige. That dude's a dog. Dude's a dog. And the thing is, he does pose a threat to anybody. Poses a threat to anybody. He's got power in his hands. If he lands one of them nasty overhand rights that he gets to chucking, because he throws them at perfect timing, lands that, you're going to sleep. I think Sean Woodson is going to be able to keep him distant for a little bit. But I think once Dan can figure out the timing and figure out how to close the distance ever so slightly, Dan starts finding shots. Dan takes over. Dan gets the KO win. I'm rocking with Dan Ige. On to the main card. My dark horse of the 205-pound division. Dominic Reyes going up against Nikita Krylov. Good matchup. If Dom comes out in this fight the same way he did in the last two, Nikita Krylov is going to sleep. Nikita Krylov said in the press conference that he never shies away from meeting the guy in the middle and trying to put on a great fight for the fans. We've seen Nikita get cracked before. We've seen him get dropped before. We've seen him get hurt. I think Dom is on a whole new crash course. He is on a different mission. I think this is really about to be his time. So I'm rocking with Dominic Reyes. I'm working on that one through like MMA vibes. Like I just feel like there's something about Dominic Reyes. I put him as the dark horse because I just feel like there's something about Dominic Reyes that's gonna elevate him something crazy very soon. I mean, the man arguably beat John Jones and then all of a sudden had this slight downfall, and now he's rising back up, and it's the best way you'd want to see it happen. Keep getting these wins, keep getting these finishes, go on the same type of run that you went on the first run to end up getting you the title shot, and you'll end up getting a title shot again. But I have to rock with Dominic Reyes in this one. Not just because I believe he's going to win, but because I have to rock with him because I truly believe he's the dark horse, and I don't want to, I don't want to back out of my word. I've said this a bunch of times in this on this podcast that I feel like he is the dark horse. So I don't want to back out of that. I want to stick to that, and I'll tell you why I want to stick to that. Because if I'm right, fuck yes, let's go. I was right about Charles becoming champion. I was right about Leon becoming champion. And I'm trying to be right about Dominic Reyes coming back to be champion. After Poatan comes back and knocks Magomed Ankalaev out cold. That's all I can ask for. But then at the same time, I wouldn't want to see Dominic Reyes end up knocking out Alex Pereira to be the champ. You know what I mean? Like, Poatan's my boy. Like, I don't know. But Dominic Reyes is who I am rocking with to open this card. I think he's on, like I said, a whole new crash course. So I got to go with Dominic Reyes. All right. So this is the first fight that has potential fight of the night written all over it. Or it's going to be quick. Bryce Mitchell versus Jean Silva. Obviously, a little bit of heat there. take away from all the stuff on the outside with Bryce. I know a lot of people have been hating on Bryce because of some of the stuff that he said on the outside. But at the same time, what he said on the outside has nothing to do with that skill set in the octagon. And because of what he said out there, people are legitimately sleeping on the fact that Bryce Mitchell is an absolute dog. I mean, who else pulls off twister submissions in the UFC at the highest level? Bryce Mitchell. But Jean Silva is another dog. It really depends on what... I don't even know how to predict this fight, to be honest with you. I could break this down. I can go into detail on how Bryce has the superior wrestling, but clearly Jean Silva has the superior power. Is Jean Silva's style and theatrics in the octagon gonna get into Bryce Mitchell's head? Because he does seem like he could be a head case at times, right? Or is Bryce gonna come in at like a completely different animal after coming off of the you know, that tough loss to Ilya? I feel like that was his last fight. Oh no, Ilya and then Josh, the terrible loss to Josh. You know, coming back after that, you got to get yourself a good win. Maybe he's on a whole different mission. But the thing about Jean Silva is he doesn't respect anybody's skill set. Not that he doesn't like legitimately respect it as man to man, talent to talent. He respects it in that case. But once they step foot in the octagon, he meets you in the middle and he'll fight you in your best game no matter what. He just wants to knock you out. And I think that is going to either be the thing that serves him super well and gets the KO and probably gets it early, or who knows what Bryce can end up doing. Bryce could end up getting this fight to the ground, controlling it a little bit, getting back up. Bryce has good stand-up. Bryce does make you miss a lot. We haven't seen Jean Silva get to the third round yet. So could Bryce make him miss a lot, end up wearing him out? Could Bryce end up wrestling him through the late second, all the way through the third round, end up getting some sort of dominant performance in the decision? Anything can happen in this fight. It could be a potential fight of the night. I do see Jean Silva getting the win, but I don't see it being as easy as people think. I do see it being a finish, but I just don't see people are basing it off like the first 2 minutes. It's like, yo, why are you guys sleeping on Bryce Mitchell like that? Like, the man is think about who he's lost to for a second. Really think about who Bryce Mitchell has lost to. Ilya Topuria and Josh Emmett. I mean, those are not too bad. Like, if those were the two losses on my record, right, I'd be jumping with joy. 2 losses, okay. All right, I lost to fucking Ilya Topuria. Not mad at it. And he was supposed to, and Bryce was supposed to be sick in that fight. And then the Josh one, whoever was standing in front of that right hand on that night was going to sleep the exact same way. That right hand was a right hand from the center, the center of the universe. He grabbed that from the center of the universe and he chucked that motherfucker. And it connected with Bryce Mitchell's chin. And I promise you, any featherweight in the division that was standing across from Josh that night was getting slept. So for those two to be Bryce Mitchell's losses, not bad at all. But in this fight, unfortunately, I have to rock with Jean Silva. I've been backing the fighting nerds so heavily, and I'm not going to, just like the Dominic Reyes dark horse, I'm not going to back out now. I'm rocking with it. So I got Jean Silva for the win. This next fight, in my opinion, is the most interesting fight on the card because you have a man debuting who has been in the game for a very long time, who has established himself as a champion in other promotions. He's extremely skilled in Patricio Pitbull, going up against Yair Rodriguez. Now, this is one of those fights where either Yair can welcome him to the UFC and make it a very rough night for him, or Pitbull comes in and makes this a night like Michael Chandler did against Dan Hooker. And I can really see that happening. And the closer we get to the fight, the more I'm leaning that way. You got Yair and Diego Lopez going back and forth at each other at the press conference. Yair obviously was focused on Diego. He was originally supposed to fight Diego, right? So he had that focus on him. I just don't think he should sleep on Pitbull. I don't think he is, but just make sure he's paying attention to what this man can do, because he is dangerous. He is dangerous. And this is the type of fight where Yair wins. Okay, cool. He might get one more fight, another win, and then he might be able to fight for the title again. Pitbull just needs this, because Pitbull is established. He's established. He's never fought for the UFC featherweight championship before. He's been the Bellator featherweight champion by beating Michael Chandler, who is now in the UFC. Right? There's certain aspects of this that could end up taking Pitbull. A good win for Pitbull, taking him to a title shot, just like Michael Chandler did. Michael knocked out Dan Hooker, ended up getting the next shot against Charles Oliveira. This could happen very, very similar. Pitbull versus Yair could end up being the #1 contender for Pitbull, just for Pitbull, if Pitbull wins. That's what I see. I am leaning Pitbull right now, though. I really am. I do see it happening. I see this. Not that Yair's sleeping on him. I think he's going to get caught with a sleeper shot. But if not, Yair is going to whoop his ass on the feet. That's truly my belief. I think he whoops his ass on the feet. I just think Pitbull is really good at mixing the game, and he's kind of a bruiser, right? And we've seen Yair lose to that style of fighter multiple times. Frankie Edgar, Volkanovski. Now he's fighting Pitbull. So these are fights that Yair can definitely lose. But if Yair is clean and crisp with the striking and just not allowing Pitbull to close distance and get comfortable, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. He's going to control it with ease, in my opinion. But I have to rock with Pitbull in this one. On to the co-main event, Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. This one, a lot of people are talking about being the fight of the night. And it's got potential fight of the night written all over it, because Michael Chandler's in it. Michael Chandler is easily one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC. And Paddy is making his way up in a way of being exciting, not in terms of what he does in the octagon, but just as an energy in the MMA realm. He's very fun to pay attention to, his build-ups, everything like that. But I know he is the type of fighter that can shine against certain styles, right? He might be able to go out there with Michael Chandler and put on a fight of the night performance, win, lose, or draw, just because he's fighting a guy that brings that style out of you. Michael Chandler forces you to fight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He forces you to fight. Now, Michael Chandler has gotten his back taken multiple times. Paddy is very good at jiu-jitsu. People sleep on his jiu-jitsu. Don't sleep on his jiu-jitsu, because it's not to be slept on. He has the capability of, one, putting Mike in a troubled spot if Mike tries to, mix the game up, maybe wrestle or something like that. Paddy is one of those defensive grapplers to where if he's getting taken down, he might throw up the submission in the middle of getting taken down instead of trying to sprawl it, instead of trying to do anything or continue to scramble or anything like that. He might just throw the submission up and go for it. And the thing about that with Mike is, if you get it, cool. You're either going to submit him, or you're going to burn your legs out or arms out, whatever submission you got him in. You're going to end up burning out. Or you miss that submission or fail it, or he breaks out of it and he just starts beating the crap out of you while you're on the ground. It's a dangerous spot to be in. So Paddy does have to be careful throwing up submissions against a guy like Michael Chandler. But Mike, you already know, Mike's going to meet him right in the middle. Mike's going to be throwing. He's going to be throwing, looking to finish. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's going to be looking to take Paddy Pimblett's head off. And the thing about it is, we saw Paddy versus Jared Gordon, and Paddy struggled with Jared Gordon. I know this was a while ago, and he's fought some fights in between. He's fought some fights since, no doubt, but stylistically, it just does make it interesting. I think that Michael Chandler could go in there and he can knock this kid out, because I think Paddy keeps the chin up too high sometimes. He likes to bounce in a lot. I don't know. He does improve each and every fight though, so I can't count Patty out. But I think I'm leaning Michael Chandler right now. You know, this is the main fight that has me juggling each and every day. Every other day I change my thing. So like if you're following my bets, just do whatever you think on this one. To be honest with you, I know that's crazy from somebody breaking it down, but just do what you think, do what your heart tells you, because I can't pick it. Yeah, I can totally see Mike going out there and finishing him. Same kind of similar to how Mike did Dan Hooker, catching him on the back foot, catching him with some looping type of shot after feigning to the body or working a leg kick and coming over top, like something like that. I can see Mike knocking him out. But then in the other realm, I can see Patty subbing him, which is crazy because Charles couldn't get him, but Dustin did. So I don't know on that one. I've been bouncing back and forth, but as of right this second, I'm leaning Michael Chandler. But that ain't for certain. That's subject to change. That is subject to change. But the energy in fight week, Michael Chandler always brings that good energy. Patty always brings a good energy, so it's hard to base it off of their energy. Neither of them look nervous. They don't act nervous if they are. So it's tough to base off energy for that one. You can for other guys, right? You can for a lot of other guys. You can sometimes just feel it. You can sometimes just read it, especially when they have when there's tension between the fighters. But we'll see what happens in that fight. I think I'm leaning Mike right now, though. Iron Mike. And then the main event. Alexander Volkanovski fighting Diego Lopez for the vacant featherweight championship. You guys saw the individual breakdowns. At least I hope you watched the individual breakdowns. If you didn't, go watch the individual breakdowns. Individually break down Volk, his skill set, you know, what he needs to do to win, what he's going to do, what he doesn't want to do if he wants to, you know, avoid the loss. Like everything. Highs, lows, pros, cons, all that kind of shit. So make sure you go watch those videos. I got a Volk one. I got a Diego Lopez one. But I'm not going to get into a crazy in-depth breakdown on this because with the two of those, you'll understand. But I would say that this fight has the potential to be a quick one. It really does have the potential to be a quick one. But that was my mentality before this week hit. Pictures of Volk come out. That's the best shape Volk's ever looked. He was, you know, kind of flubbery against Islam, and I get that was on a short notice one. He wasn't very leaned out or anything against Ilya. It looked like maybe he was just trying to bulk up, maybe put on some power. He looks lean and mean in this one, and I think he took this fight extremely serious. I really do. I think he took this extremely serious, and he believes that this is the most important fight of his career. Because coming off of 2 losses, you can't afford to take another loss, especially by KO. So he has to go in there and get this W. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. See, Diego Lopez can lose this fight. And he's fine because he has potential to come back. Again, he's such a skilled fighter that he could lose this fight and come back 1,000 times. Volk loses this fight again by KO. Oh, no. Volk cannot afford another KO loss. Just he can't. Now, if he loses by decision, it kind of reminds me of what happens to a lot of champions. They take the 2 tough losses, they come back, put on a decent performance, almost get the win, kind of show the fans that they're still good enough to fight, but slowly become a gatekeeper. That's the last thing I want to see for Alex. So, Volk's got to go out there and get this win. He has to. And I think he can. If he can just avoid the early onslaught, get past it, drag this into 3, 4, 5, I think Volk takes it. So who am I rocking with at UFC 314 to win the featherweight championship? Alexander Volkanovski. Did I place a bet on Diego Lopez though? Absolutely. Thank you for watching this episode. You know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification button so you know when the next episode is out. And I'll catch you on the next episode. Your boy Bando's out. Peace.